All right. So boys and girls are different. Testosterone. What kind of a hormone is testosterone?
Largely male. Male.
Well, females have too. Not as much. Aggression and ends with an S. Sex and aggression hormone. So, the male brain is a spatial mechanical brain. First creating situations and playing games that fill large spaces. Think of all sports that guys like. Football, baseball, basketball. Large spaces and ball all over. How does the pitcher communicate with the catcher? Hand signals. You know, in the football, in the huddle, they say as few words as possible. Serotonin, oxytocin, and progesterone, those are bonding hormones. Those are female hormones. The female brain is set up to be verbal. It involves complex sensory and emotive behavior. The female brain, this is the biggest difference between the male and female brain, is the corpus callosum in females is 25% larger, and that's where crosstalk information from one side of the brain to the other goes. It goes more often and quicker. Females have stronger neural connectors along with more cortical areas devoted to verbal functioning in girls, which creates superior listening, reading, and writing skills. When it comes to all the senses, all of them, taste, touch, smell, hearing, sight, females are superior to males. And the memory. Memory is much better. Ask any man this. Okay. This is from an author, Dr. Luann Brizardine. She has a book out, Female Lying, and she just came out with one of the male lying. In fact, there's a Petaluma business group that's going to bring her into Petaluma next year as part of a conference on women. So women also speak more quickly, devote more brain power to chit-chat, and the simple act of talking triggers a flood of brain chemicals which give women a rush. Similar to that developed by heroin addicts. Here's the great soundbite. Women have an 8-lane superhighway for processing emotion, while men have a small There is no unisex brain. Girls arrive already wired as girls, and boys arrive already wired as boys. Their brains are what drive their impulses, values, and their very reality.
Then Jack gave the signal.
Born with different temperaments, the sexes develop different aptitudes at different speeds.
Startled that he roared very loudly and ran behind the tree.
The average girl learns coherent speech as much as a year before the average boy. In reading and writing, too, girls have a lifelong advantage in fluency, which the boys never quite catch up to.
Nonsense means the words make no sense at all, but you can still read them.
The nonsense words Diane McInnes is asking children to read are part of a study of learning difficulties.
Because there's no time pressure on us at all.
The words sort out children who merely memorize the shape of words from those who have learned how language really works.
Black hen.
Of course, we find the major sex difference that everybody else is reporting in reading itself. So if you give a standard reading test, we found in our kids that the girls were better at both reading real words and also reading what are called nonsense words that are pronounceable. And it's a very discerning test for subsequent reading ability.
Professor McGinnis' extensive studies in many different schools have convinced her that boys and girls take different routes to reading.
Hand.
The next word is thick.
Girls with better hearing skills from birth read and spell by sound.
Okay, got all the letters.
Now we're going to make it more difficult with 5 words in a row this time.
Josh relies on sight, seeing the list of words in his mind's eye, a strategy which works fine at first.
Shoe, clock, car.
But as the list gets longer, memory alone can't cope.
Glass, house, spoon, door.
Rice, house, spoon, door, and
Brandon is a boy who seems to have everything.
Brandon's very bright, and things come very easy to him.
this is the life.
And the way that he figured out how to do it, although they were sounding out words in first grade, was basically with a visual memory. For a while, he pretended he could read when he really couldn't. He was memorizing the words. As time went on, Brandon's first grade teacher, Mrs. Speakman, was no longer fooled by Brandon's great reading ability. She started to see that with very new words, Brandon was having a problem sounding them out.
This word.
In reading difficulties, boys outnumber girls by 3 to 1.
If that's tib, could you make it say stib?
Brandon's reading technique has been taken back to basics.
Say stib.
Each block represents a sound, so he can literally build words phonetically. He's having to learn how to read by sound and unlearn his private technique of learning by visual memory.
Okay, this was it.
Brandon's doing well because his teachers have recognized a basic brain sex difference.
He's excited about learning this new way. He's starting to succeed using this new way. Fortunately, with our methods, nobody falls through the cracks.
Okay, the meal rate. Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so boys have more cortical area devoted to spatial mechanical functioning than girls, and half as much devoted to verbal emotive functioning. Boys have 15% less blood flow in the brain than girls. And that, I'm going to talk about later. Is my mic on? How males go into a rest state while the female brain never turns off. I'm going to show you a video clip that shows that the female brain, when the woman is sleeping, her brain is on as much as the man when he's awake. Spatial mechanical brain function makes boys want to move objects through space. Boys generally have higher math and physics skills than that of girls. By the way, the only 2 areas where boys are outperforming the girls academically is physics and geography. Spatial mechanics. All right, back to Dr. Brizadine. The sex and aggression hormone testosterone, responsible for molding the male brain in the womb, shrinks the areas responsible for communication and memory. Testosterone also reduces the size of the section of the brain involved in hearing. So if you're a teacher and the kid in the back, boy in the back, is not listening to you, he may just not be hearing you. Now a lot of teachers, they have these little PAs, like I'm wearing, or move the boy up to the front. The area responsible for sexual thoughts is twice as big in male brains than that of female brains.
If girls inhabit a world of sounds and words, boys live in a world of things and space. Spatial ability is the skill to imagine things in 3 dimensions, to judge distance and perspective.
Ready? Go.
Countless studies have revealed spatial ability to be one of the most striking differences between the sexes.
Perfect, Michael. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Girls can copy a two-dimensional picture, but manipulating a solid object poses problems.
But the moment you add that third dimension to it, the boys seem to be much more efficient. And the age at which this emerges, at least where it's testable, is at about age 4, which is a lot earlier than people previously thought. It just seems to be something to do with the way the brain is organized, because certainly this, until recently, was a completely unrecognized ability. We still don't know what it is in terms of the fine processes involved, but it's some kind of awareness of more than 2 dimensions of visual information.
This sex difference in spatial ability grows more pronounced with age.
These are turned in photographs, so you have to imagine what it's going to be like when the blocks are turned. All right?
In this test, only 1 in 4 girls will do better than the average male. Could all this explain why men have a better sense of direction and seem more at ease with higher mathematics?
We know that from this point to this point, it's got to be the same.
A special summer school in Iowa.
It's a right triangle.
Studies of thousands of mathematically gifted girls and boys like these reveal a gender bias, and that's regardless of background, according to Professor Benbow.
Basically, what we have found by studying now well over 1 million kids is that there are many more math-talented boys than girls. And depending upon the ability level that you're talking about, the discrepancies are become larger and larger, such that if you look at the very extreme end of the distribution, what you find is that there's 13 boys for every 1 girl who are, for example, in the top 1 in 10,000 in mathematical reasoning ability. I want to point out we began with a totally environmental stand. When we first saw our gender differences, first we thought, we probably don't know what we're doing, so if we do this stuff again, it'll disappear. Well, we did it again. We've done it now for 20 years. We've tested well over 1 million kids. These gender differences, they're stable, they're robust.
How were these different brains created? Let's go back to the cave days. Gatherers were human, so they were multitasking, using sensory and motor. Hunters were men, so they were focused. They didn't bring home the bacon, so they had to be focused. They had very, very little talking and abstraction skills.